The vast chamber fell silent as Admiral Voss entered. His normally pristine uniform showed signs of hasty dressing, and the dark circles under his eyes betrayed his lack of sleep. The emergency council meeting had been called with such urgency that some members still wore their night attire beneath their formal robes. "Play the recording again," ordered High Commander Wren, the most senior military official present. His voice echoed across the round table where 12 of the Empire's highest-ranking officials sat in stunned silence. The holographic display in the center of the table flickered to life. The footage showed a standard Imperial patrol squadron, 5 warships in perfect formation, approaching what appeared to be an unknown vessel. The unknown ship was unlike anything they had seen before, sleek, dark, with strange blue lights pulsing along its hull. "This was taken 18 hours ago in the Orion sector," explained Voss, his finger trembling slightly as he pointed to the timestamp. "We had reports of unusual activity near Mining Outpost 37. The Council watched as the lead Imperial ship sent the standard identification request. There was a pause, then a response in clear Imperial standard language. This is the Earth vessel Thunderchild. We are on a peaceful mapping mission." High Commander Wren leaned forward. "Earth, the primitive planet from the Sol system." "Yes, sir," Voss replied. "The same species we classified as pre-FTL just 20 years ago." On the recording, the Imperial Squadron Commander could be heard ordering the unknown vessel to power down and prepare for boarding, as was standard procedure for unauthorized ships in Imperial space. What happened next made several council members gasp again, despite having already seen the footage. Instead of complying, the Earth vessel, this Thunderchild, suddenly accelerated at an impossible speed. The Imperial ships fired warning shots, which somehow curved away from the human vessel as if deflected by an invisible force. Then the Thunderchild fired back, not with the expected primitive projectiles or basic energy weapons, but with something that looked like liquid light. The beams cut through the shields of 2 Imperial warships as if they weren't there. The ships didn't explode. They simply went dark, all systems failing at once. "Did they destroy our ships?" asked Trade Minister Loka, her voice barely a whisper. "No," replied Voss. "That's what's most disturbing. They disabled them with pinpoint accuracy. No casualties. The crews report that all essential systems, weapons, engines, communications were perfectly targeted and disabled, while life support remained untouched." The recording showed the remaining 3 Imperial ships attempting to surround the Thunderchild. In response, the human vessel seemed to flicker, and then, impossibly, it was suddenly behind the Imperial formation. "What you're seeing is not a recording error," Voss explained. "Our analysts believe the human ship somehow folded space to reposition itself." Science Minister Dax shook his head in disbelief. "That's theoretical technology. We've been researching spatial manipulation for centuries without practical success." The footage continued, showing the Thunderchild firing those strange weapons again, crippling the remaining Imperial ships with surgical precision. Then the human captain's voice came through once more. "Your crews are unharmed. We have no interest in conflict with the Empire. Consider this a demonstration of good faith. We could have destroyed your vessels, but chose not to. The Empire will respect Earth's sovereignty and all human settlements, or next time we will not be so merciful." Then the Thunderchild vanished in a flash of blue light that didn't resemble any known form of faster-than-light travel. High Commander Wren slammed his fist on the table. "How is this possible? Humans are barely able to reach their own moon. Our last survey showed them struggling with chemical rockets." Intelligence Director Mara, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "That survey was 20 years ago. We deemed them too primitive for follow-up. It appears that was a grave miscalculation. Or deception," added Security Chief Bull. "Perhaps they detected our observation ships and put on a show of primitive technology." Voss shook his head. "Our observers were absolutely undetectable with our cloaking technology." "Clearly not," snapped Wren. Either they fooled us then, or they've made technological advances in 2 decades that should take centuries. The room fell into uneasy silence as the implications sank in. The Galactic Empire spanned 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, encompassing over 10,000 star systems and hundreds of species. For millennia, they had encountered no civilization that could challenge their technological superiority. Until now. "What do we know about this human civilization?" asked Emperor's voice Terra, the political representative who spoke with the Emperor's authority. Intelligence Director Mara activated her datapad. "Officially, Earth is a quarantined world, classified as pre-FTL. Population approximately 10 billion. Their official space presence is limited to their home system, a small station orbiting their planet, another around their moon, and research outposts on 2 other planets in their system. And unofficially, press Terra." Mara hesitated. "We don't know. This ship came from outside the Sol system, which means they have at least 1 colony or base we're unaware of. The technology displayed suggests they're far more advanced than we believed possible." "Could this be some other species using the human identity as cover?" suggested Trade Minister Loka hopefully. "The communication was visual as well as audio," replied Voss. "They were definitely humans." Security Chief Pole stood up and began pacing. "The question is whether this Thunderchild is one exceptional vessel, perhaps experimental, or representative of a human fleet we know nothing about." "Either way," said High Commander Wren grimly, "this changes everything. A species with technology that can bypass our shields and defenses, with faster-than-light capabilities beyond our understanding, sitting on our borders." "What are you suggesting?" asked Terra sharply. "We need to know more," replied Wren. "I recommend an immediate intelligence operation. We need to infiltrate human space, determine their military capabilities, locate their colonies, and assess the threat level." "And if they detect our spies like they apparently detected our observers?" asked Mara. "Then we'll at least know they're watching," said Wren. "But we can't sit idle while this potential threat grows." Emperor's voice Terra was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "Approved. Director Mara, assemble your best agents. Admiral Voss, prepare a containment strategy in case we need to respond militarily." As the council members began discussing details, Admiral Voss stared at the frozen image of the Thunderchild on the display. A chill ran down his spine as he considered the implications. After thousands of years of Imperial dominance, they had finally encountered a species that might be their technological superior. And not some ancient, dying civilization, but humans, a species they had dismissed as primitive just 2 decades ago. The galaxy was about to change, and Voss wondered if the Empire was ready for what was coming. Captain Tom Reed of the Thunderchild stood tall as he walked through the hidden doorway of Epsilon 9. The secret human outpost was built inside a hollow asteroid in a system far from Earth, carefully shielded from Empire detection. Few people in the Sol system even knew it existed. "Welcome back, Captain," said Commander Lisa Barnes, the base leader. Her smile was warm, but her eyes were serious. "That was quite a show you put on." Reed nodded. "The crew performed perfectly. The Empire's ships were exactly where our intel said they would be." They walked through a corridor carved from the asteroid's rock. Around them, men and women in blue uniforms worked at stations monitoring space in all directions. This was humanity's forward operating base, the edge of their hidden network. "The Council is waiting," Barnes said, leading Reed to a large door at the end of the corridor. Inside the meeting room, 5 people sat around a round table. They were the Human Defense Council, the secret group that had guided humanity's hidden space program for the past century. "Captain Reed," said Admiral Wilson, the oldest member, "your mission was a success. The Empire now knows we exist as more than just primitives." "They seemed quite shocked by our technology," Reed replied, taking his seat, "especially the spacefold drive." "As we intended," said Dr. Morgan, head of the science division. She activated a holographic display in the center of the table. For 200 years, we've hidden our true capabilities. The demonstration you provided was carefully calculated to shake their confidence without revealing our full strength. The hologram showed the Thunderchild's encounter with the Imperial patrol from multiple angles. Reed watched his ship perform the space-fold maneuver that let it jump behind the Imperial ships without conventional FTL travel. "Tell us exactly how they responded," said General Parker, the military leader. Reed leaned forward. They were completely unprepared. Their weapons couldn't penetrate our shields, and they had no defense against our pulse cannons. Their communication suggested they had no idea humans had this level of technology. "Good," said the fourth council member, Director Lewis of Intelligence. "Our deception has worked for decades. The Empire's arrogance made them dismiss us as unworthy of close observation after their initial survey." The final council member was the oldest woman Reed had ever seen. Known only as the Keeper, she rarely spoke but held more knowledge about humanity's secret history than anyone alive. "Why now?" Reed asked the question that had been bothering him since he received his mission orders. "We've been hiding our capabilities for centuries. Why reveal ourselves to the Empire now?" The Keeper finally spoke, her voice surprisingly strong for someone so old. "Show him." Dr. Morgan nodded and changed the hologram. It now displayed a star map of the galaxy, with Empire territory marked in red. A blue wave was slowly expanding from the opposite side of the galaxy. 3 months ago, our deep space sensors detected this, said Admiral Wilson. "It's another empire, one the Galactic Empire doesn't even know exists yet. We call them the Void Collective. They're expanding rapidly, conquering everything in their path." Reed studied the map carefully. "They'll reach Empire space within 5 years, and Earth in 8. "Exactly," said Director Lewis. "The Galactic Empire is powerful, but our analysis shows they can't stand against the Void Collective alone. Neither can we." The truth dawned on Reed. "We're revealing ourselves now so we can form an alliance with the Empire against this greater threat." "Not exactly an alliance," corrected General Parker. "The Empire doesn't make alliances, they only accept submission. But by demonstrating our technological superiority, we can force them to recognize us as equals before this new enemy arrives." The Keeper touched a control, and the hologram changed again. It now showed an ancient stone tablet covered with strange symbols. "Everything we have," she said quietly, "all our advanced technology, comes from what we found in the deep ocean 200 years ago. The artifact contained knowledge from a civilization that vanished millions of years ago. The Empire has been searching for this knowledge for centuries, but we found it first." Reed had heard stories about the artifact since joining the secret space program, but few people had seen actual images of it. "The Empire would destroy Earth to possess it," continued the Keeper. "That's why we've hidden our true capabilities. But now, with the Void Collective approaching, we need the Empire's industrial capacity and vast fleets to supplement our technological edge. So my mission was the first step in a complex negotiation," Reed said, understanding now. "Exactly," replied Admiral Wilson. "And the next step is already underway." Agent Dorn had never felt so exposed. As an Imperial intelligence operative, he had infiltrated dozens of alien worlds, but Earth was different. Despite looking exactly like the locals, the Empire had perfected biological disguise techniques centuries ago. He felt like everyone could see through his cover. He sat in a busy coffee shop in a city called New York, watching people hurry past the window. Everything he saw contradicted the Empire's official reports on humanity. The technology around him was too advanced for a supposedly primitive species, yet still far behind Imperial standards. "Your coffee, sir," said the waitress, placing a cup in front of him. "Thank you," Dorn replied, using the local language perfectly. His mission was to gather information about human military capabilities after the shocking encounter with the Thunderchild. So far, he had found nothing unusual. Earth's visible space program seemed primitive compared to Imperial technology. Chemical rockets, Basic space stations, nothing that could explain the advanced warship. Dorn's communicator, disguised as a local smartphone, vibrated. He checked it casually, seeing a message from another Imperial agent operating in a region called Europe. Found something. Transit hub in Norway. Unusual energy readings. Dorn finished his coffee and left payment on the table. 3 days on Earth had yielded little information, but this might be his first real lead. 20 hours later, hidden in the forests of Norway, Dorn watched through high-powered optics as trucks entered what appeared to be a simple mountain tunnel. His scanner detected brief energy spikes each time the tunnel door opened. Energy signature matches partial readings from the Thunderchild encounter, he whispered into his recorder, consistent with advanced shielding technology. After dark, Dorn approached the tunnel entrance. No guards were visible, but his scanner detected multiple sensor systems. The Empire's intelligence briefing had suggested that human security would be basic and easy to bypass. The briefing was wrong. As Dorn attempted to disable the first sensor, a field of energy suddenly appeared around him, freezing him in place. He couldn't move, couldn't speak, could barely breathe. "Imperial intelligence, I presume," said a voice from the darkness. A woman stepped into view, wearing a simple uniform with no markings. "You're the third one we've caught this week. Your Empire works quickly." Dorn tried to activate his emergency beacon, but couldn't move his fingers. "Don't bother," the woman said. "We're blocking all transmissions. Your handlers won't know what happened to you." More figures emerged from the shadows. They placed a device on the ground near Dorn. It projected a hologram of Earth, surrounded by small dots that expanded outward into nearby star systems. "We know you're looking for our secret," the woman said. "Let me save you some trouble. Those dots represent human colonies and outposts. 57 of them, all hidden from Imperial sensors. We've been out there for over a century, watching you while you thought we were trapped in our own solar system." The last thing Dorn saw before losing consciousness was the hologram expanding to show hundreds of ships marked with Earth insignia, positioned throughout what the Empire had always considered its secure territory. Commander Trell stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Dominance, watching the stars through the massive view screen. Behind him, 50 Imperial warships formed the most powerful reconnaissance fleet assembled in the past decade. Their mission was simple: find the limits of human space and test their defenses. "Status report," Trell demanded, his four-fingered hand tapping impatiently on the command console. "We've crossed the boundary of charted space, sir," replied his second-in-command, Officer Mech. "We are now in the region where the Thunderchild was first encountered." Trell nodded. The Grand Admiral had been clear. This was not an invasion force, but a show of strength. The Empire needed to know exactly what they were dealing with before committing to full military action. "Any sign of human vessels?" Trell asked. "Nothing, Commander," said the sensor officer. "Space is clear for 10 light minutes in all directions." Trell frowned. Intelligence had suggested the humans must have a base somewhere in this sector. Had they retreated upon detecting the Imperial fleet? That would be the wise choice. Despite the impressive technology of the Thunderchild, no species could hope to match the combined might of 50 Imperial warships. "Sir," the sensor officer's voice rose in alarm. 3 ships just appeared. They weren't there a second ago. "On screen," ordered Trell. The view screen shifted, showing 3 vessels that had somehow appeared directly in the path of the Imperial fleet. They were still 5 light minutes away, too far for a surprise attack, but their sudden appearance was disturbing. "How did they get there?" demanded Trell. "Did they use standard FTL?" "No, sir," the sensor officer replied, her voice shaking slightly. "No FTL signature detected. They just appeared." Trell studied the 3 human ships. One was clearly the Thunderchild, now familiar from the recordings. The second was similar in design but smaller. The third ship, however, was something else entirely, at least 3 times larger than the Dominance, with a smooth black hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Analysis of the large vessel. Trell asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Energy readings are off the charts, sir, reported the science officer. Our sensors can't penetrate its hull. Based on size comparison, I would classify it as a dreadnought-class warship. A human dreadnought. The concept seemed impossible just days ago. The Empire had classified humans as a primitive species barely able to reach their own moon. Yet here they were, fielding a warship that dwarfed the Imperial flagship. They're hailing us, sir, said the communications officer. Trell straightened his uniform. On screen. The view screen changed to show a human male in a dark blue uniform with silver markings on the shoulders. He appeared to be in his middle years, with short gray hair and a calm expression. Imperial Fleet, this is Captain Robert Miller of the Earth vessel Avalon. You have entered space that the Earth Defense Force considers its security zone. State your intentions. Trell stepped forward, drawing himself up to his full height. This is Commander Trell of the Imperial flagship Dominance. You will stand down and prepare to be boarded. The Empire does not recognize any claim by Earth to territory beyond your own system. The human captain's expression didn't change. Commander Trell, we have no desire for conflict. I propose we meet to discuss the situation diplomatically. The Avalon has suitable facilities for such a meeting. Trell almost laughed. The human was inviting him onto their vessel. Did they think Imperial commanders were so foolish? There will be no meeting, Trell replied coldly. The Empire does not negotiate with pre-spacefaring species who have somehow acquired technology beyond their understanding. You will surrender your vessels for inspection, or we will take them by force. For the first time, a flicker of emotion. Was it disappointment? Crossed the human's face. I had hoped for a more reasonable response. Please be aware that while we prefer peaceful resolution, we are prepared to defend ourselves. Before Trell could respond, Officer Mech whispered urgently in his ear, Sir, sensors detect targeting systems from all 3 human vessels locked onto our ships. They could fire at any moment. Trell considered his options. 50 Imperial warships against 3 human vessels should be overwhelming odds. But the memory of how easily the Thunderchild had disabled an Imperial patrol gave him pause. Stand by weapons. Trell ordered quietly, then addressed the human again. Captain Miller, this is your final warning. Power down your vessels or face the consequences. Miller sighed visibly. Very well. We will maintain our position. If your fleet approaches within 1 light minute of our location, we will consider it a hostile action. The communication ended, and the view screen returned showing the 3 human ships, still maintaining their position. Orders, sir? Asked Officer Mech. Trell studied the situation. His mission was to test human defenses, not start a war. But retreating now would be seen as weakness. Advance the fleet at half speed, he commanded. Full shields, weapons ready but do not fire unless I give the order. The Imperial fleet began moving forward slowly, maintaining perfect formation. The human vessels remained motionless, making no attempt to retreat. They're still within the 1 light-minute boundary they specified, reported the navigator after several minutes. Continue advance, ordered Trell. Let the humans fire first, he thought. Then the Empire would have justification for full-scale war. As the leading edge of the Imperial fleet crossed the invisible 1 light-minute boundary, Trell tensed, expecting the humans to open fire. Instead, the 3 ships remained still. Sir, said the communications officer, we're receiving a broad-spectrum transmission from the human vessels. It appears to be music. Music? Trell repeated, confused. Before anyone could explain, a junior weapons officer on the far side of the bridge shouted, "For the glory of the Empire," and fired his station's weapons at the smallest human vessel. "Belay that," Trell roared, but it was too late. A bright beam of energy shot from one of the Dominance's forward cannons, streaking across space toward the human ships. The beam never reached its target. Halfway between the fleets, it simply vanished, as if absorbed by invisible shields. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Officer Mech shouted, "Energy spike from the human dreadnought." Thin blue beams shot out from the Avalon, so fast they were barely visible. They didn't target the Dominants, however. Instead, each beam struck a different Imperial ship with surgical precision. On the tactical display, Trell watched in horror as 45 of his 50 ships suddenly went dark, their power systems offline. Only the Dominants and 4 other vessels at the rear of the formation remained operational. "Damage report," Trell demanded. "No destruction, sir," reported the tactical officer in disbelief. "The human weapons only disabled engines, weapons, and shields. Life support and basic power remain functional on all affected ships." The communication system activated again, showing Captain Miller's face. This time, there was no mistaking the disappointment in his expression. "Commander Trell, despite your officer's action, we have chosen not to destroy any of your vessels. Your crew members are unharmed. Consider this demonstration complete. When you return to your superiors, inform them that humanity seeks peaceful relations with the Empire, but we will not be subjugated." The transmission ended, and the 3 human ships began to move. They didn't turn or accelerate in the conventional sense. They simply faded from view, like ghosts disappearing into mist. Trell stood silent on the bridge, staring at the now empty space where the human vessels had been. In less than a minute, without destroying the single Imperial ship or taking a single life, the humans had neutralized a fleet that could have conquered an entire sector. "Orders, sir," asked Officer Mech quietly. Trell took a deep breath. "Assist the disabled ships. Prepare for return to Imperial space." After a pause, he added, "And prepare my report to the Grand Admiral. The situation is more complicated than we anticipated." The Grand Council chamber on Imperial Prime had never been so full. Representatives from all major Imperial worlds crowded the giant circular room, their voices creating a constant buzz of nervous conversation. At the center, the 12 members of the High Council sat in tense silence, waiting. Grand Admiral Tholos, the supreme military commander of the Empire, studied the reports in front of him for the 5th time. The data from Commander Trell's failed reconnaissance mission was troubling enough. But now they had something even more disturbing, a full report from Intelligence Officer Dorn, who had somehow escaped human custody and made it back to Imperial space. The doors at the far end of the chamber opened. Every head turned to watch as the Emperor himself entered, a rare occurrence that underscored the gravity of the situation. The ancient ruler of 1,000 worlds moved slowly to his seat at the head of the High Council table, his face impassive beneath his ceremonial mask. When the Emperor was seated, Grand Admiral Tholos stood. "Your Imperial Majesty, honored counselors, we face an unprecedented situation. What we believe to be a primitive species has revealed itself to possess technology that may surpass our own." He activated the central hologram, showing the encounter between Commander Trell's fleet and the 3 human vessels. The chamber fell silent as they watched 45 Imperial warships disabled in seconds without a single casualty. "As you can see," continued Tholos, "the humans could have destroyed our fleet but chose not to. This suggests they are either remarkably merciful, a few counselors scoffed at this idea, or they are making a calculated display of power while keeping their true capabilities hidden." The Emperor's voice, rarely heard in council, cut through the room. "What do we know of their true capabilities, Admiral?" Tholos gestured to a small, thin man standing at the edge of the chamber. "Intelligence Officer Dorn has returned from Earth with critical information." Dorn stepped forward, looking nervous but determined. His escape from human custody had cost him dearly. His left arm was now a prosthetic replacement, and a long scar ran down the side of his face. "Your Majesty, honored counselors," Dorn began, his voice steady despite his appearance. "I was captured by humans shortly after beginning my investigation on Earth. What I discovered changes everything we thought we knew about them." He took control of the hologram display, showing images he had secretly recorded. "The humans allowed me to see certain things, At first, I thought it was carelessness on their part, but I now believe they wanted me to escape with this information. The hologram showed vast underground facilities beneath Earth's surface, shipyards hidden inside lifeless moons, and space stations cloaked from conventional sensors. Humanity has been building a hidden civilization for over 2 centuries, Dorn explained. They have at least 57 colonies spread throughout what we consider Imperial space, all using technology that makes them invisible to our sensors. Murmurs of disbelief spread through the chamber. High General Korv, the most hawkish member of the council, stood up. "This is impossible. Our patrols would have detected them." "Not if they possess technology far beyond our understanding," replied Dorn calmly. "And they do, because of this." The hologram changed to show an enormous crystalline object, glowing with inner light, kept inside what appeared to be a heavily guarded vault. "This is what the humans call the architect's gift. 200 years ago, their oceanographic vessels discovered it in a deep trench on their planet. It is an artifact left by what they believe was an ancient precursor race, beings they call the architects, who existed millions of years before any current galactic civilization." The Emperor leaned forward slightly, his interest clearly piqued. "The ancients," he said. "The Empire had sought evidence of this mythical precursor race for millennia, finding only fragments and ruins." "Yes, Your Majesty," confirmed Dorn. "The humans claimed this artifact contained the complete technological knowledge of the architects, stored in a crystalline matrix that interfaced directly with their primitive computers. It gave them schematics for technology thousands of years more advanced than what they had, or what we currently possess." Science Minister Dax, who had been silently observing until now, joined the conversation. "If this is true, it would explain their seemingly impossible technological leap. Space folding drives, energy weapons that bypass shields, sensors that can detect our cloaked observers, all theoretical technologies we've been unable to perfect." "And did the humans tell you why they've hidden their true nature for so long?" asked the Emperor, his voice revealing nothing of his thoughts. Dorn nodded. "They claimed they feared the Empire would destroy them to possess the artifact. They said they needed time to build their defenses before revealing themselves." "A reasonable fear," noted Philos. "It's exactly what High General Korv is about to propose we do now." Korv didn't deny it. "We should assemble the Grand Fleet immediately. If we strike quickly at their home world, we can seize this artifact before they can mobilize their hidden forces." The hologram changed again, showing a map of human territory based on Dorn's intelligence. Hundreds of dots representing human ships and bases appeared throughout supposedly secure Imperial space. "It's too late for that," said Dorn quietly. "They let me see this intentionally. Their ships are already positioned throughout our territory. If we launch an attack on Earth, they could strike at dozens of our key worlds simultaneously." The chamber erupted in angry shouts and fearful exclamations. The Emperor raised a hand, and silence immediately fell. "Continue, Officer Dorn," he commanded. "Why would they reveal themselves now, after 2 centuries of hiding?" Dorn's expression became grave. "This is perhaps the most disturbing part, Your Majesty. The humans claim there is another power approaching from the far side of the galaxy, something they call the Void Collective. According to their intelligence, this collective has already consumed hundreds of star systems and will reach Imperial space within 5 years." He brought up new images, showing strange ships of a design completely unlike anything Imperial or human. The vessels appeared almost organic, with twisted structures that hurt the eyes to look at for too long. "The humans claim they need our help, or more accurately, they claim we need theirs. They believe that neither humanity nor the Empire can stand alone against this collective." Grand Admiral Thelos studied the images carefully. "Do we have any independent confirmation of this threat?" "None," admitted Dorn. "Our long-range sensors don't reach that far, and we have no outposts in the regions the humans claim have been taken by this collective." High General Korv scoffed. "Convenient. They invent an imaginary threat to force us into an alliance." "Perhaps," said Dorn, but they seemed genuinely concerned. The woman who interrogated me, their head of security, said something I found interesting. She said, "We could have remained hidden for another century, safe in our corner of the galaxy. Instead, we're revealing ourselves and risking everything. Ask yourself why we would do that if the threat weren't real." The Emperor was silent for a long moment, considering. Finally, he spoke. "We face three possibilities. First, the humans are telling the truth about everything. They found advanced technology, built a hidden civilization, and now warn us of a greater threat. Second, they are lying about this collective to manipulate us into accepting their power. Third, they are lying about everything, including their capabilities." He looked around the chamber. "What do our instincts tell us?" Science Minister Dax spoke first. "The technology they've displayed is real. No one can fake the kind of space-folding drive we witnessed." Intelligence Director Mara nodded in agreement. "And their hidden bases must exist. It explains too many anomalies we've detected over the years, but dismissed as sensor errors." Grand Admiral Thelos cleared his throat. "Whether or not this void collective exists, the humans could have remained hidden. By revealing themselves, they've made themselves vulnerable. That suggests they believe they need us for something." The Emperor nodded slowly. "Then we shall proceed carefully. We will neither attack nor submit. We will engage diplomatically while preparing for all possibilities." He turned to Grand Admiral Thelos. "Arrange a meeting with these humans, somewhere neutral. I want to see what they truly want from the Empire." The space station hung in orbit around the gas giant, its neutral gray structure deliberately plain and unthreatening. Built in less than a week specifically for this meeting, it represented something unprecedented in Imperial history, a diplomatic summit between the Empire and a species it had previously considered primitive. Admiral Voss stood at the viewport of the Imperial diplomatic vessel, watching as the human ship approached. Unlike the military vessels they had encountered before, this one was smaller and clearly designed for diplomatic purposes. Its sleek white hull bore the simple blue emblem of Earth, a circle with a stylized representation of their home planet. "They're right on time," noted Imperial diplomat Larn, who stood beside him. "Punctuality suggests respect, at least." Voss said nothing. Since the failed reconnaissance mission and Officer Dorn's report, he had been chosen to represent the Empire's military interests at this unprecedented meeting. The choice made sense. He had been the first high-ranking official to witness footage of the Thunderchild and had led the initial response. But he felt the weight of responsibility heavily on his shoulders. "Remember," said Larn quietly, "the Emperor wishes us to appear strong but reasonable. We neither accept their claims without proof nor dismiss them without consideration." "I understand diplomacy," replied Voss stiffly. "I've negotiated surrender terms for 17 species." Larn smiled thinly, "but never as the potentially weaker party. That makes this different." Before Voss could respond, their shuttle docked with the neutral station. 6 Imperial guards in ceremonial armor formed around them as they walked through the connecting corridor. The meeting chamber was a perfect circle, with 2 identical doors on opposite sides. The room was empty except for a round table in the center with chairs arranged around it. The ceiling was transparent, offering a view of the swirling clouds of the gas giant below and the stars above. Exactly on time, the opposite door opened. 6 humans in dark blue uniforms entered first, taking positions that mirrored the Imperial guards. Then came a tall, gray-haired man with an air of quiet authority, followed by a woman whose piercing gaze immediately locked onto Voss. "Ambassador David Jackson." The man introduced himself with a slight bow. "Representing the United Earth Government and its colonies." "Commander Susan West," said the woman. "Earth Defense Force." Larn stepped forward. "Imperial Diplomat Larn, voice of His Imperial Majesty." He gestured to Voss. "Admiral Voss, representing the Imperial Military Command." They took their seats at the table. For a moment, silence filled the room as both sides studied each other. Ambassador Jackson spoke first. "We appreciate the Empire's willingness to meet. It shows wisdom that we hope will benefit both our civilizations. The Empire has existed for 10,000 years by adapting to new realities," replied Larn smoothly. "Though we must admit, humanity has presented us with a particularly surprising new reality." Jackson nodded. "We understand your skepticism. For centuries, we deliberately presented ourselves as less advanced than we truly are. A deception that raises questions about your trustworthiness now," pointed out Voss. Commander West met his gaze evenly. "A deception that was necessary for our survival. Your empire has a well-documented history of absorbing or eliminating potential rivals. We bring stability and progress to primitive worlds," countered Larn. "You bring subjugation," said West bluntly. "We chose a different path." Ambassador Jackson raised a hand slightly, and West fell silent. The gesture reminded Voss of how the Emperor could quiet an entire council with the smallest movement. "We are not here to debate the past," said Jackson. "We face a threat that concerns us both." He placed a small device on the table. It projected a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with Imperial territory marked in red and human space in blue. The third color, a sickly green, spread from the opposite side of the galaxy, like a stain slowly bleeding across the stars. "The Void Collective," said Jackson. "We detected their first movements 8 years ago. Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered, possibly even beyond what we derived from the Architect's gift." Voss studied the map carefully. "You claim they've already consumed hundreds of systems, yet the Empire has detected nothing. Their method of expansion doesn't generate the usual signatures your sensors would detect," explained Commander West. "They don't use conventional FTL travel. They spread through what we call space-folding cascades, essentially breaking down the barriers between points in space on a massive scale." "If this threat is real," said Larn, "why reveal yourselves now? Why not remain hidden until they arrive, then let the Empire bear the brunt of the attack?" Ambassador Jackson's expression became grim. "Because we've run the simulations, thousands of them. If the Empire faces the collective alone, you'll fall within 3 years. If humanity faces them alone after the Empire falls, we'll survive perhaps another decade. Together, our chances improve significantly." "Convenient calculations," noted Voss skeptically. Jackson tapped the projector, and the image changed to show a small object that appeared to be made of twisted metal and crystal. "This is a fragment of Void Collective technology we recovered from the edge of their expansion zone. We've spent years analyzing it. We're prepared to share this sample and all our data with your scientists." Voss and Larn exchanged glances. This was unexpected. Such technology would be invaluable regardless of whether the threat was real. "And what do you want in exchange?" asked Larn cautiously. "Recognition," said Jackson simply. "Formal acknowledgement of humanity as an independent power equal to the Empire. A non-aggression pact. And cooperation against the collective." "The Empire does not recognize equals," said Larn stiffly. "The Emperor stands above all." Jackson smiled slightly. "Perhaps it's time for new traditions." He tapped the projector again. The hologram expanded, now showing hundreds of blue dots scattered throughout Imperial space, human ships and bases that had remained hidden for centuries. "We could have remained hidden," said Commander West quietly. "We could have watched as the collective consumed the Empire system by system. Instead, we're here, offering alliance. Or," added Jackson, "we can show you more concrete proof of our capabilities, if that would help the Empire make its decision." Voss felt a cold certainty settle in his stomach. What kind of proof? Ambassador Jackson looked to Commander West, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "At this moment," said Jackson, 200 advanced human warships are decloaking throughout Imperial space, one above each of your major worlds. They have been there for years, undetected by your sensors." The hologram updated, showing these ships appearing like stars suddenly blinking into existence across Imperial territory. "They have no hostile intent," continued Jackson. Their commanders have strict orders not to engage unless attacked. But they are there to demonstrate a simple truth. If humanity were your enemy, this meeting would not be happening. The Empire would already be facing an internal threat it could not counter. Voss clenched his jaw, knowing that reports of these ships would already be flooding Imperial command channels. The diplomatic communication device at his belt had been vibrating constantly for the past minute. "This is not how peaceful negotiations are conducted," said Larn, his diplomatic mask slipping to show genuine anger. "No," agreed Jackson. "This is how negotiations between equals are conducted. We respect the Empire's power and history. We ask only for the same respect in return." He slid a data crystal across the table. "This contains everything we know about the Void Collective, including the coordinates where your ships can independently verify their advance. It also includes a proposed treaty of mutual recognition and defense." Voss picked up the crystal, turning it in his fingers. After a moment of consideration, he addressed Commander West directly. "If we verify this threat and agree to your terms, what happens to your ships currently positioned above our worlds?" "Half will return to human space," she replied. "Half will remain, but openly, as part of our joint defense network. We have no desire to occupy or threaten Imperial worlds, only to ensure our own safety." Larn had regained his composure. "I must consult with the Emperor before any agreement can be reached." "Of course," said Jackson. "We'll remain here awaiting your response." As Voss and Larn rose to leave, Jackson added one final point. "Admiral Voss, the Empire has stood for 10,000 years because it adapted to new realities. I believe this is such a moment. The galaxy is changing. Together, we can shape that change. Divided, we may not survive to see what comes next." 3 days later, Admiral Voss and Ambassador Jackson stood side by side as their representatives signed the Treaty of Mutual Recognition and Defense. It was not the complete alliance the humans had hoped for, nor the submission the Empire had initially expected. It was something new, a first step toward a different kind of relationship than the Empire had ever permitted. As Voss watched the signing, his communicator quietly alerted him to a new development. Imperial deep space probes, sent to the coordinates provided by the humans, had confirmed the existence of the Void Collective. The threat was real. "This changes everything," Voss said quietly to Jackson. The human ambassador nodded. "Yes, but change was coming regardless. Now at least we face it together." On the bridge of the Thunderchild, now in orbit around the gas giant as part of the honor guard for the treaty signing, Captain Reed received new orders. The ship was to proceed beyond Imperial space, to the very edge of known territory, where strange readings had been detected. As Reed studied the mission briefing, he allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage at last. The deception was over. Now the real work would begin, preparing for the storm that was coming. The Thunderchild's engines hummed to life as it broke orbit and prepared for spacefold. Ahead lay the unknown, but for the first time in centuries, humans would not face it alone.